All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Beluga Pod. It's here, your hosts, Chris and Will, here to bring you up to date on what's the latest happenings in crypto Twitter. And it's been an eventful week. Things are picking up, right? The summer is thawing a little bit, and I think people are coming back, from vacations. You have things like the ETF kicking in, so a bunch of news happening now. It's been pretty interesting to follow, and obviously things happening in the charts too. So maybe let's just get to it. Starting off, we could talk about the majors really quickly and just go over some of that, and then talk a bit about ETF and some of those things. I think it's always good to start there. Give me 1 second. I'll pull this shit up. But BTC.
God, I cannot believe your lines are still working.
I haven't touched them in forever, but you know what? I'll stand by them. But BTC not looking too bad. I mean, we're still kind of ranging, but ranging at a higher place now, than before. Like you said, we had FMOC a little bit earlier. I haven't paid attention forever, but it sounds like what you said, Will, was that rates have changed. So
Unchanged.
There's that. I don't really know what to make of it, nor do I really give a shit, but here we are. But look, I mean, I think we're still trending at a reasonable place. We are still kind of within this range on the high end. We haven't broke all-time highs again yet. We haven't really gotten up to the 72s, but still, this is lower highs. We're creeping up and looking strong in general. ETH also just at a tricky place. Like it's been going well. I think people are generally positive, and Sol's actually been on a tear still. It's been doing well. We've seen relative to everything else that's been going well. Sol still, I think, has probably the best price movements out of all of them, and the best price action in general. So overall, I think it's kind of happening as we said, which is basically it'll chop around after we had a massive run up all of last year, right? We're going to chop around in the summer once things cool off a little bit, and it actually didn't even go nearly as bad as I thought it would. We hit like mid 50s, and then we kind of came back up. And then now we're just kind of waiting around here for the next leg of this before we really break out. And I think if you look at this today, it's pretty bullish. And I forget where it was. Well, I don't know if you saw this thing, but someone was tracking like stablecoin TV or I guess stablecoin flows, and it was like the first time positive for a while. And so it's like sort of signaling a couple things, which is people are coming back, and there's more money coming into crypto now, and that's probably like the best metric to look at. So if you look at that combined with this and how the majors look, combined with some of the sort of overall macro narratives and the things that are coming up for us around ETF, around the election, around rate cuts, things look primed to just fucking gigascend. So yeah, I'm liking it. I don't think I'm bidding here, to be honest, too much, but
I'm bidding here.
Are you? Good. I'm gambling, if anything. I got a couple open positions, but I'm not buying anything spot. I'm doing a little bit. I'm just doing some G-Gen stuff for fun. But yeah, Will, what's your take on the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is exactly what we've kind of been talking about. Again, to your point, would be the predicted price action. I still think that ETH is trading far too low, especially given how the inflows are looking. GBTC, I think, yesterday had outflows of, I don't know, 100 mil or something, which is another big decline from where it's been the previous weeks. So that's a great sign, and volume remains high. So kind of despite what I would consider, it's not an overly bullish market, but it feels like we're just kind of on the fence deciding where to go from here. I think I'm looking at ETH as this being the time for it to catch up. So that's why I'm buying more. Only spot. I'm not trading on leverage. But yeah, I've been buying some more ETH. I bought some more Arbitrum, ETH and ETH betas. Yeah, it's not looking good. I don't know if I'm the idiot for trying to call the bottom of this, but it feels way oversold to me. It remains, I think, the second or first most popular ETH2 by TVL. And I think that's a strong narrative. I think the biggest problem that ARB probably has is that there's really just not a direct value accrual mechanism. But as we saw with Optimism when it had its big run, like that doesn't necessarily matter very much if you have the right narrative. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. And especially if we see an ETH run, I would expect to see ARB and the other L2 tokens also have a move.
And ARB, for what it's worth, I mean, it could not look this chart is absolutely awful. But
Oh, could not look worse. Yeah,
yeah, but if
it's
you're going to bid
horrible.
anywhere, now's the place. I mean, this is all-time lows. Like it's either going to zero, or it's
Yeah,
going to
I
go up
mean,
from here.
my
So
my reasoning was ETH sentiment, along with everything else running despite ETH and the ETH eco, basically hit all-time lows. And now we have the new ETF narrative. We have good flows. We have good things happening in general. So I'm kind of looking at that big July 4th cascade as being the bottom, but who knows?
OP looks actually pretty good, honestly, like
Yeah,
relatively
bought
speaking.
some OP as well. Um, I mean, look, I think OP has a very specific um, kind of value potential because of their whole super chain thing, which
OP is not an
for
L2. I'm sure you saw
OP is
that.
not an L2. Yeah, I thought that was a funny tweet. They're becoming the new Polygon. Um, but yeah, look, like if Superchain ends up winning out, like yeah, I mean OP will be worth quite a bit, even though there is no direct value accrual mechanism right now. In fact, it's actually being inflated quite rapidly. So yeah, no, I've been bidding ETH stuff, but I think we'll see what happens. I'm comfortable with holding for a while. I'm not necessarily. I don't need a quick pop.
Nice. Yep, this is the tweet. Optimism is not an
Yeah.
L2, despite being an L2. But good for them. But for what it's worth, I just trolling them a bit. But like, yeah, I do understand what they're saying with the super chain story and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, interesting. So ETH betas, Will famously known as an ETH maxi also, but it looks like it might be the time. It might be it. I would say I'm bullish on too. I'm still bullish on ETH. It's definitely my second biggest bag. And so yeah, very cool. And maybe transitioning to one of our favorite topics here, Solana.
Salami.
A lot of Solana talk recently, of course. And Solana price action's been always nuts, but we've seen some noise about Solana in on Twitter, and you had some comments on Pump.Fun and a couple of these things. So yeah, Will, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, so if you could pull up the DeFi Llama chart real quick, I think this is a cool one. So basically, the moral of the story here is that despite being a fraction of ETH's size, um, two Solana applications are now in the top 5 in terms of all chains, all protocols, all everything in terms of revenue in the last day, which is crazy. I mean, that's like super, super impressive. Um, I think honestly, most surprising to be on this list where it is Pump.Fun, which is basically a meme coin launchpad on Solana where anybody can go deploy a coin in a matter of seconds without actually adding liquidity to itself. It seems like a very simple concept in theory, but nobody has been able to do what they have, and basically no other app is competing with the mind share and usage that Pump.Fun has right now. So that's been super impressive. They've had a lot of coins. I think what is the biggest one from Pump.Fun now? Is it like
I actually
Mitchie?
have no
Mitchie's
idea.
quite big.
Oh, Mitchie's from Pump.
Um,
I didn't realize.
yeah,
I guess you could look at the contract and get a sense of which
yep,
ones. But yeah, I have no idea.
yeah. No, it's been doing really well. I think um,
Oh
I
my
don't want to
god.
I don't want to knock it because I think it's been super impressive the growth that they've had, but it's also just a wild value extractor from the space. It's not like this money is getting put back in. These are all just trade fees that Pump.Fun takes on the platform. And I liked your metaphor last week about too much fast food. Pump.Fun is like the McDonald's of fast food, and like sure, it's going to end up being big, but I think it is a little bit worrying, at least personally, seeing what is really like a rug meme coin launchpad being in like top 3 of revenue for apps across the board. So I kind of hope that this is like a top signal on that front, and we start seeing more DeFi protocols, stuff like that, ranking up high. But I mean, super impressive and speaks to where all the activity is right now.
I mean, just absolutely insane fucking revenue
Crazy.
chart. I've made $100 million in like 5 months, basically. Um, just absolutely fucking bonkers. Good for them.
It's
Yeah, I
crazy.
agree with you. We'll see where it lands. Um, and meme coin mania has to continue to be a thing for this to continue to be a thing as well. But it is sobering to always look at this and be like, here's a bunch of serious shit, and number three is Pump.Fun.
Yeah.
So
It
um,
is inspiring though. I mean, I think Alon or Alon, however you pronounce his name, the founder is like a 20-year-old kid.
yep,
Like, I mean, that's damn cool.
it's incredible.
I'm happy for them.
Yeah, totally. It's awesome. I mean, good for them. It makes total fucking sense, right? It's the easiest thing to understand. Um, Launching shitters by pushing a button without having to provide liquidity, like, makes total sense. Use the bonding curve, right?
Yep.
And then graduate to radium, just fucking awesome, So good for them and capturing, like you said, mind share and just having the brand around it. Again, the dude is good now, right? He's got $100 million. He's going to be fine. So
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
cool and good for him. But yeah, absolutely nuts. And
I mean,
maybe,
it's interesting to me that they were able to, like, it used to be that when if you were a shitcoin trader in the trenches, you were on like Dex Screener just scanning for new launches and that kind of thing. Now everybody comes to Pump.Fun, and that like
yep,
change happened very quickly,
yep,
which is
totally,
impressive.
totally. And like some of these are honestly just
Yeah, I
hilarious
mean,
too.
you can see
They,
this. It's
you know,
just
these things are just absolutely insane sometimes. Just like the volume, the trades here. I mean, look at this shit. It's just ridiculous what's going on in some of these tokens. But again, to his credit, it's been fucking ripping. You can't knock it. Um, but
I mean, yeah, I think in terms of just like mind share, obviously we see it in the fees, but everybody is constantly talking about Pump.Fun. Even me, who like, I'll actively FUD it, even though I think it's cool. Even I'm on Pump.Fun. So yeah, no, they've found product market fit so quickly. What It's just
oh god, yeah, no, they
too
really did.
funny,
They
too
really did.
funny.
Um, anyway, interesting. And I guess on that topic, on Sol in general, and kind of like where the market is and where things are, it's obviously, I feel like the conversation is so heavy into Solana right now and shitcoins and everything. And then we had this post come out a few days ago now, I think, just talking about Sol in general. And honest to God, like, that the meme of like, I didn't read all that, but like, glad that happened, or sorry that happened, or glad that happened to you. Like, that's the truth. I skimmed it at best and just sort of like read through some of the comments, but this post at least was definitely like making its way around, and was a big part of the sort of story around Solana. And I don't know. I mean, again, like, I only skimmed it, so well, you might know this better than I do. I feel like the long story short was a lot of the numbers are inflated, and it seems like it's not quite as bullish as everyone thinks. But I really don't know. So I mean, what do you think, Will? Like, what did you read
Yeah, I
this?
mean, it's the
Do you have a
same
sense of what's going
thing.
on?
Yeah, it's the same things that we and I have been saying. Like, Solana used to be known for telling everybody that they could do 10,000 TPS when we all knew it was more like, 300, 400. This is like the same thing. It's just DEX volumes now. If you go through all of this, I think there's one interesting point about like stablecoin volume on Solana. If you chart it next to when Jump Trading, which was one of the big market makers and notoriously scammy funds that was very active on Solana, as soon as they left, the stablecoins volume dropped like 80% or something. Um, so clearly there were some shenanigans going on there. But yeah, I mean, I think, look, the question is not, is a lot of the volume fake or artificial, so to speak, because I think that's like generally pretty agreed upon at this point. The question is, does that not mean anything? I think it's still significant personally. If people are still spending money for transactions and on-chain actions in general on your chain, I think that's a good thing. I think maybe you can take it with a grain of salt that maybe it's, activity is much more fleeting than you may have thought it was. But I think you can't fully discount these kinds of volumes, even if it's not entirely real or genuine. Um, yeah, I mean, it's also this was, I think, another thing we touched on last week. Like a lot of the ways that things are set up within Solana, for example, LPs tend to be very, very thin on Solana, which one
Yep.
means you incur a ton of slippage on your trades if you're trading in any kind of size. And like honestly, we're talking like 1,000 or 2,000 bucks. You might be moving most of these coins like multiple percentage points, which sucks as somebody who trades a lot. Um, but there's other kind of weird things, like a lot of the apps, like Photon, for example, will default slippage to 20%, which back when everybody was saying Solana had no MEV problem, which is not the case, wasn't a huge issue because there just weren't active sandwich bots. So if you had high slippage left on, you didn't get destroyed for it. Now, the way it works, because Jito handles all of these transaction bundles, basically, they're selling your transaction data to people who are sandwich botting. So if you have your slippage set too high or you don't specifically turn on a MEV Protect tool, you're going to eat that entire slippage. And I don't think that's a coincidence, because it's very easy to set the default much lower. And it's that across multiple apps who have been known to do shady shit like that. So it's like little things that all kind of add up to a grander picture for me. I don't love the inflation rate on Solana either. It's like tens of millions of dollars in sell pressure every single day. Um, but yeah, I mean, look, end of the day, I think a lot of this is stuff we all knew. It's just a question of does it matter price action wise? I'm not sure it really does. Like Solana price is running because it's the meme coin casino and everybody's gambling on meme coins right now.
Yep.
Um, it has only been the meme coin casino since like January. This is not like it's been that the whole time. And meme coins are just by nature super, super mercenary. So whenever people stop gambling on meme coins, that's when I'd expect price to move. I wouldn't expect price to move based on what I would call like actual logic and fundamentals, because that hasn't driven the run up either. So I wouldn't expect it to cause a dump. And we haven't seen it have a significant impact either.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's stuff we all knew. Really, that was my takeaway. It's just
Totally.
out there in an article.
Yep. And of course, like the Soul Army is good at this stuff, and they just demand let's come out and just
Dude,
defend
fucking
everything out
Mert.
there.
I'm gonna shit talk Mert quickly. I've had this fucker muted for like a year, and I unmuted him just to like read comments to this. He's such an idiot. He responds to specific points, and when he knows he doesn't have a response to it, he's like, "Oh yeah, no, you're right about this, but you can see I admitted it was right like a while ago, so it doesn't matter." That's not an answer to the problem. Like you can't just do that as a rebuttal. It's so retarded. It's like it hurts me to read his tweets. But yeah, the whole Solana army comes out whenever something like this happens, which I get. I defend my bags too. But I think a lot of this is very difficult to refute. But again, I don't know if it matters. Like we
Yeah,
care about price. We
I
don't
think
care
that's the
about
point.
fundamentals. Yeah.
So I think that's the point. Look, at the end of the day, all this shit may or may not be true. It almost doesn't matter. It's just what do people care about? And right now, people, like you said, people want to fucking gamble on shitcoins. It's as simple
Yeah.
as that. And there is no better place than Solana today. Unfortunately, you know whatever we think it is, Solana is still the fucking venue of choice to ape shitters. You know,
Yeah.
you have and I think it's a combination of things because look, the truth is the experience is not like my personal opinion is that the experience is not that different than an ETH2, and in fact, I'd say
Yeah.
sometimes worse. And but if you look at the totality of things, right, just the sort of like cultural phenomenon around it is one thing, right? Two is I think Phantom as the default wallet or some of these things is not horrible either, you know, and so that compared to MetaMask, I think on its own is part of it as well. And then even then, you look at things like Photon, right, which has been pretty good too, which allows you to do gambling on shitcoins on mobile, right, very quickly, fast, and you can do all kinds of low cap stuff. So like to their credit again, like I think it's been the combination of those things makes it easier for people to get on board, even if the experience is very similar to what we can get on even base or anywhere else. So anyway, I'm with you. Maybe one thing to
Yeah.
talk about here really quickly is one token in particular in the Soul shitcoin world that was over the weekend is NEIRO. that kind of spilled over from Sol to ETH and to all kinds of stuff. But maybe real quick primer. NEIRO is, and correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't even know if this is the right Twitter account, but and maybe I just won't shill it. But
Yeah.
NEIRO,
I was gonna say.
my understanding at least is NEIRO is correct me if I'm wrong, Will. It's the Doge owner's new dog. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Is the new Doge.
it's the new Doge. And so the thing that I saw over the weekend was, God, here, let me find this shit. It started on Sol, I believe, and I played these a little
I think
bit.
the
They were
first
kind of
one was on Sol. Yeah.
there were two of them in particular. This must be it. Yeah, of course.
Jesus
This
Christ.
classic Soul chart. But apparently, I think it came out, and the first one didn't really run, and then NEIRO 2 came out, and that one ran, and that one went from like 0 to I think 60 million 60 million FDV with like 1.5 million of liquidity in like an hour and a half or something ridiculous, right? And so the multiple was insane. Thicker liquidity. I mean, actually not that thick. It's $1 million, but relative to Soul Shitters, that was like thick liquidity. And the original one wasn't there. And just kind of watching that drama, one, I think that was interesting because it just sucked a lot of people in. Because like, holy shit, we can really catch like a fucking 1,000x in an hour here. And at that moment, I think Ansem came out and said that he got on a space, I believe, and started talking about the original NEIRO, and said he didn't buy the NEIRO 2 but bought NEIRO 1 or something. I wasn't paying full attention, and
Yeah.
just giga nuked after. And then all of the incredible racist comments and like hateful Ansem comments came out on Twitter. And then, of course, right after that, NEIRO 2 pumped again. So just like classic. I think it was just one of the few, like it's one of the few times I think in recent times, at least for me, we kind of like went back to like hyper autism in just one place, where we're just looking at a 10,000x instantly and then immediately dump 90%, then back all the way up and then slowly trickle down. So just like seeing that, I felt like I was glued to my screen. I was trading the fuck out of it just because I'm retarded like that as well. But it was a good time, and then I think it spilled over to ETH after, right? Which Will is where you picked up on it as well. And I actually didn't even know it was on ETH yet, but looking at it now, it seems like ETH is where it's at. 120 mil in market cap,
Jesus,
whereas on
still
Sol,
running.
yeah, and it actually looks pretty good. I think these are the two original NEIROs here. I actually have it saved. Let's see. Where is this shit? Okay, here we got. Here's one NEIRO. This is, I think it's the other one. Yeah, ripped up, ripped back down, and then NEIRO 1 is here. And wow, it just looks like shit. Yeah, this is NEIRO 1. And so you can see NEIRO 1 at 4 million market cap, NEIRO 2 at a $30 million market cap. But NEIRO on ETH picking up 130, and chart looks good. It's kind of crazy. And maybe again, like ETH tokens have just had a shitty time in general this last year. Whether it's ETH itself, which it's been okay. Look, don't get me wrong, like I think it's been you've made money, right? But it just hasn't been the same feeling as like watching Sol go from $8 a token to nearly 200, right? Or even BTC go from 20 to 60K. And all of the ETH derivatives and all the ETH like tokens in general haven't gone that way either. Versus Sol has been really ripping, and all the Sol like shitters have been ripping too. And this is probably the first one I've seen, at least, where it's gone the other way. The Sol stuff came and went very, very quickly, and now we're looking at like again about the same liquidity, if not better, and good price action, and the chart looks solid. And so maybe that signals kind of more of what's to come with ETH in general, and some of the stuff that's been happening. But I don't know, Will, if you have a take on the NEIRO stuff in general before we maybe jump to ETH in general.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pissed that I missed the big run up. That's kind of my big takeaway. But I think also people have forgotten that like Mog and Pepe and all these big ETH memes have like also been running this whole time. Even though the mind share I think hasn't been necessarily the same. I have noticed that even like Solana meme coin people have been buying Mog and Pepe and stuff. So it almost
Yeah,
transcends chains, which I think is interesting. I think the tokens that are like very tied to ETH, so that would be anything that's low market cap, honestly, that hasn't really like seen a ton of buyers, has been struggling. But yeah, I mean, I think I hope this is kind of the start of the ETH transition. I will say I do I'm not sure ETH can take over the same like meme coin casino thing from Solana because that's like its entire identity right now.
Yep.
And it would just it's not necessarily a sticky user base, but it's just like ingrained in everybody's habit by now that you go on Pump.Fun and Solana for meme coins. Um, but like maybe this is the start of ETH on-chain volume starting to return. We still haven't really had a layer two have a good meme coin yet.
Nope.
So maybe that's coming at some point. I guess Miggles did okay on base.
Yeah, you had to have all of fucking Coinbase pushing it to make
Yeah,
that
and
work.
it
But
just
yeah,
didn't go
it didn't.
crazy high.
No, it
Or,
didn't. It
or it went
didn't.
to 100 mil or something, right?
I honestly didn't even follow it, so I have no fucking idea. Yeah, I know it was a thing, and we had Brett a little bit, but yeah, like you said, there's
Yeah,
nothing
Brett.
even close, like
Yep.
nothing even remotely close to whiff or bonk or anything on fucking Soul, really. But yeah, I mean, like, look, like I think this maybe signals at least a bit of an attention coming back to ETH mainnet, especially as the ETF comes back into play and people think that we're going to get a run up on ETH. Then, of course, ETH derivatives all pick up, and so a couple things happening in the ETH ecosystem this week at least. We have, especially around like DeFi one coins. You have Aave and Compound going through some shit, different things. Maybe let's start with Compound really quickly and talk about that, and then we can jump over to Aave. But Compound is one of the original borrow lend protocols. And very simple. You can go in there, lend out stable coins or lend whatever and borrow whatever you have to do, right? And so it's a very classic borrow lend protocol. It's a competitor to Aave, right? And it's been around for a long time. And this week, there was a bunch of nonsense around this. And maybe Will, I mean, you might know this better than I do on the overall story here, but there's a governance attack. And it ended up going a funny way. But yeah, maybe Will, if you want to dig into it.
Yeah, there's this guy Humpy, who I guess is a DeFi OG. I maybe had seen his name around, but was not familiar with his game like this. But basically, Humpy, yeah, he successfully achieved a governance attack on Compound, which basically what that means is Compound functions as a DAO, and your voting power is proportional to the number of tokens you hold. And when you put forward a vote, there are certain thresholds that have to be met, etc. Humpy managed to accumulate enough Compound tokens, I think like 25, 30 mil worth, to
Yep.
where he could actually push through a vote like this himself. So what he did was create a proposal to basically send himself like $40 million worth of tokens, and it passed. It passed. Now, rather than actually just take the money for himself, which look, I really respect this actually. He used that power to strong arm the Compound team, I believe, into doing the fee switch, right? That was
Yes,
what he
that's my
wanted.
understanding. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so he basically said, "Hey, I'm going to take $35 million, $40 million from you unless you turn on the fee switch. If you turn it on, then I will just not do this." And lo and behold, less than a day after, we have a fee switch coming for Compound, which is
Which
exciting.
is nuts. Yeah, which is just not the way this usually pans out.
No,
Usually you strong arm the fucking treasury or strong arm the DAO and you buy tokens, and look, that's how it works. You
yep,
you have enough votes. It's a it's open, and you can take the money. It doesn't always go that way, right? Usually you kind of give it back, and you get some of it, and you kind of negotiate, and everyone's pissed, but you made some money. This was an interesting thing. It was like it actually ended up being bullish for Compound. This guy returns all the money and turns on a fee switch, so now all comp holders are happy. So, pretty based, honestly.
pretty based.
Um, and yeah, pretty interesting to watch. Just kind of like I think there's a lot to still figure out in DAO mechanics and just governance in general.
Yeah,
Clearly, this is not how things should be done, but also you could
yep,
argue that it is how things should be done, right? If someone's got a big bag and wants to like make something happen, this is kind of how it's supposed to work. So anyway, I don't have a good answer, and I'm certainly not on the leading edge of DAO stuff.
yep.
But it's just kind of fun to watch, and this is one of the few times where it did go the right way. And I think the voice of the community was heard through someone kind of strong arming the treasury and strong arming the DAO at least. So
Yeah, I mean the Compound team has gotten a ton of flack for just being super selfish and not really doing anything for token holders. So, like sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
yeah, exactly. Oh God, which maybe leads into Aave.
There's one funny tweet I saw that somebody, when the governance attack was happening, somebody in the Discord tagged one of the team members and was like, "Hey, like, are our funds safe?" And the team member responded, "Hey, please don't tag me. It's against the
Oh yeah,
rules."
I saw
What the fuck, man?
that.
Like, you deserve to have your money stolen, honestly.
Oh, I saw that. Like, what kind of stupid answer is that, dude? Get
So
the fuck
bad.
out of here, man. Yeah, I was like, tagging core members is not allowed or something like
Yeah.
that. I was like, what
What
the
the
fuck,
fuck?
dude?
Shut up, dude.
Oh God.
Oh,
But
and by the way, all that required was like a 3-word response. No, they're not. Like, your assets are
exactly,
safe.
exactly. Someone's like asking a question if their money's safe in the bank. You're like, you're not supposed to ask the fucking. You're not
Yeah.
supposed to ask the employees where the funds are. I was like, dude, the answer is fucking. It's fine, dude. You know. And
Yeah.
even now, like running a community, I'm like, dude, the number one thing you fight against is FUD. You
Yep.
know, and that's a complete, just like retarded move that you could just easily on a sidestep for no reason. But anyway, happy ending at least for everybody at Compound. Maybe not the Compound, the folks themselves, but I think overall good for the protocol, good for the holders.
Mm.
And a similar thing happening over in Aave. Not quite the same scenario and setup, but at least the same outcome. But I haven't been following the Aave story as much. Compound, I tend to just follow the drama, and so Compound was funny to watch. But Aave, Will, do you want to talk us through it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Aave is just like Chris was saying, it's very similar to Compound. They're both competitors. Aave is kind of known as like the crypto bank, I guess I would say. They've built up a pretty decent mindshare moat in that manner.
Yep.
But yeah,
And it's a bigger
basically,
token. I think it's just
and it's a bigger token.
it's the
Yep.
bigger one for sure. I think.
I think Aave is $1 billion FTV or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
one
and
point seven.
almost fully circulating almost. I imagine
Oh
comp is
damn,
pretty good too.
111 now. It is moving.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
wow, a lot
they
less.
passed a proposal on the 27th, I believe, which basically is our plans to implement a fee switch at some point. So a fee switch is basically right now the Aave token basically doesn't have any use other than governance. What a fee switch would do is divert some of the revenue the protocol is making into buying back the token. And I believe the way that they're structuring it is they would buy back the token and then use that to distribute to token stakers. So rather than, I think there's like 8 or 9% token inflation right now, so that would be eliminated and replaced with a yield entirely from the buybacks, which I would also guess would be somewhere in the high single digits. But point is, people got really excited about this because if you look at MakerDAO as an example, which is another big DeFi protocol, when they implemented their fee switch about a year ago now or so, um, which was really the first kind of clear direct value accrual from the protocol to the token, the price responded very, very positively. So I think people are looking at Aave to do something similar, and I think this is a great move by them. Now there are some caveats. We can see the price is already running, but it's not getting implemented overnight, and it's actually not even certainly getting implemented. They have a few constraints around it. The big one that I remember is they want their stablecoin to reach 150 million in market cap, which somewhere around 100 or 110 right now. So that'll take a little bit, but I think they've gained about 100 million in market cap over the last year. Network effect, etc. Things tend to speed up as time goes on, so I would expect them to hit that like probably early Q4, late Q4. At which point this proposal would be ready to go live. So yeah, I think Aave is super exciting. It's one of the blue chip, so to speak, DeFi tokens. I started accumulating when I saw that proposal. But I think people are starting to kind of get wise to just how powerful some of these protocols can be. I mean, I know I wish Tether had a token I could buy, but they just published, I think, $5.5 billion
$5 billion,
in
insane,
revenue.
totally.
Um, so
I
look,
thought it
like
was
these
profit, to be
these
honest.
DeFi protocols
Insane,
have, oh, it may have been profit. I don't
which is
know.
even nuttier, right? While
Um,
Circle is going out, and the leaked IPO price, the leaked price is $5 billion in total for all of
yeah,
USDC,
they did
while
that in
Tether's
revenue.
printing 5 mil a fucking year, which is absolutely nutty.
I mean, these companies are like real revenue companies. And I
Totally.
think the crypto space has been focused on meme coins and shit that has no value for so long that it kind of feels like it's starting to shift, and people are starting to recognize that things that have direct value accrual actually have direct value accrual. Um,
Totally.
and as DeFi, I mean, like DeFi has been pretty quiet, even in terms of use. I think like kind of what I would call low yield, stable farms have been still pretty popular, but the DeFi that we all remember from last cycle has definitely not been here. So I guess maybe if you're interested in allocating to the DeFi sector, you could watch for more interesting creative things starting to happen. But yeah, no, it's been. I think DeFi is one of the most obvious um, and clear cut use cases that crypto has. I'm not talking about like Ponzi's and that kind of thing, but
I think it's one of
lend
the only
borrow
good ones, truthfully.
institutions. Yeah.
And it's a good one, and it's
Yep.
uniquely enabled by crypto, which I always think is a good thing, right? It's not like
Yep.
copy paste from something into something else, right? Uniquely enabled by crypto, clearly necessary, right? And just one of the few things we all use on a very regular basis, and it's still very bad, truthfully, like relative to where it needs to be, and so like there's just which is bullish. It's just a long way to go, and so I think like you said, I'm bullish on these things. I think fee switch is awesome too, just because like the knock on these tokens has always been this: they don't do shit, like you buy the token, they don't do anything, and you can devote on a couple forum posts, but it doesn't really matter. Whereas if you really look at fee switch for some of these things, now it matters, and now you can sort of like look at this. Oh, are people using it? Are there fees coming out? What's the value accrual look like? And like you think
Yep.
with Compound, with Aave, I think with Uni too, right? And these things where you're actually getting
Oh
money out
yeah,
of them, and you're sort of betting on
Uni
that.
always. I mean, they spread rumors of their fee switch all the time
Yep.
to try to pump the token,
Exactly. So
and
I
it
think those things
works.
are all
It
bullish
works.
though,
Yeah.
because that's what people want. I mean, that's literally the whole point, right? You want to participate in the ecosystem, right? You should get rewarded as such and
Yep.
getting part. Now, there's tricky question on securities and whatnot and blah blah blah, but at least let's put that aside for now and smooth brain and just say, look, fee switch is good. People seem to like it, and ultimately, I think it's a net positive for everything going on here. So I think it's good.
Yep.
Um,
Completely agree.
nice, cool.
I do wish it was taking a bit more time to run up though before I completed my DCA on Aave. I hate when this happens. Trying to be so controlled and safe, and I DCA in. I should have just market bought.
Yep,
It
that's
is
the
what it
bet.
is.
Oh, good, cool. Yeah.
I
Well, look,
guess
it's
you want to get into butterfly quickly.
Yeah, we could talk butterfly really quickly. I mean, look, long story short, I think it's pretty interesting stuff. Butterfly, look, a lot of what we've been talking about, right, as a lead into this has been things that are useful, right, and growing the space and all those types of things. And so, if you look at one token in particular, redacted, which has been rebranded to NEIRO. Um, Long story short, they had some news come out that was really interesting, which basically they are allowing institutions to come into ETH now, right? And so they did this partnership with Laser Digital, which is a Dubai-based fund who's partnered with Nomura, which is a big Japanese bank, and Galaxy. And what they're doing here is making it easy for institutions to get access to both ETH, but also ETH yields and staking, right? And so you can come in here and without having to interact with the blockchain or think about custody or think about market buying or think about all these types of things, you as an institution, without having to think about the regulation as well of holding crypto, can deposit money into a fund just like anything else, and that fund can get direct exposure to ETH, both as a directional bet, but not only on top of that, you can then begin to get yields circulating back to you, right? And through Butterfly, you have classic restaking yields, you have other yields coming into play, right? With they have all the curve war stuff that they do, so they get a lot of fees that way. So I think it's just like an incredibly base move of them, right,
Yep.
to begin to go after kind of TradFi in this way and bring them in and use what mechanisms are actually useful and interesting. Which is at the end of the day, people want other ways to make money. They want exposure to ETH because they believe it's a good asset, right? And that it's just like it's just a perfect. I think it's just a very clean package to do this, and I think you're going to see a ton more of this. We're bullish on this, just like Plume as well, right? Like, I think we're doing a lot of stuff in and around this area, but like I think the redacted guys are definitely Chads, and it's just a very cool thing to sort of lean into it like this and find off-chain money that wants exposure, bring it on-chain, grow the ecosystem for everybody while giving value back to the TradFi folks in an off-chain way. So I just think it's another good example of like real things in crypto accruing value and being bullish for for the market in general. So I think there's a lot more of that to come. And again, shout out to Sammy and the team there for getting this done. I think it was very cool to see.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I can't lie. I was a little disappointed to see staking would not be included in the new ETFs. I maybe not surprised, but I was hoping. Because I think, look, it's if you're bullish on an asset and you can also get like 4 or 5% yearly yield paid in kind on that asset, like that's incredible. Um, and it's exciting to have a real institutional product for it. I think up until now, well, I can even say from the institutional crypto stuff that I've done, like we just looked at Lido and Coinbase staking, neither of which are great solutions for what we were looking for. So having like a real institutional grade solution for this is really cool.
Totally. Yep. Sick.
Um, yeah.
All right. Well, it's a lot of stuff this week. I think, look, zooming out a million miles, I think, you know, the day-to-day nonsense of crypto can be insane, and it can be very hard to manage. But if you just zoom out from when we started this pod to now, Will, I think we've been saying the same thing, which is like there's going to be ups and downs, there's going to be shitters, there's going to be all kinds of nonsense. But the long arc of it is this: the money keeps flowing into crypto, right? The use case continue to go up, right? And we're seeing the second half of the cycle play exactly as we expected. You know, it's going to be a choppy summer, and then we're going to pivot more to more institutional demand and more demand in other ways coming into the ecosystem and growing the pie versus just trying to steal money from each other on chain. And
Yep.
so I think you're seeing that already. I think it's just mega, mega bullish where we are. And a lot of people talk about like, you know, it's over or like you're never going to have volatility again and like it's going to be boring. I mean, the thing that's always funny about this and looking at Nomura and looking at this, this is an example. I mean, crypto is still just tiny. It's still only a
Yep.
$2.5 trillion asset class. There's just so much more to go. The ETF stuff has not even begun, really. You know, like it just happened. It takes time to get the infrastructure together for these institutions, to get the messaging, to get the clients out to sell. And then once that machine starts going, though, like it's really going to start to rip. And so this is all just kind of like, you know, multiple waves of the starting gun of all this stuff happening. And so I still just couldn't be more bullish. And I think, again, like, I think, you know, it's fun to gamble and you should because it's cool and I like it too. But at the end of the day, like these types of things kind of show where we're going with all this. You know, numbers
Yep.
are going up for sure. And you know, there's still just so much in front of us from an inflows perspective that is going to make all these tokens go up. And so, you know, just make sure. I think, you know, this was said about different industry before, but I was told this very early on. I was like, you know, nobody leaves this game poor, you know, and so you just have to stay alive, you know, and like
Hmm.
that's the tricky part of this. And I think that's it. You can get caught up in the day to day cycle and go up and down, use a bunch of leverage and get fucking stopped out or whatever the hell it is. But as long as you sort of like allocate smartly, use sort of risk management and think about where your long term beliefs are, and then of course, you know, partake in the side bag here and there. Like I think it's only positive stuff, and will be good. So anyway, not to get too philosophical, but I think you know, this is all just kind of beginning to happen, which is always excited to see. And you know, I think we're all like bullish about what's happening here. So anyway, you know, maybe that's it for this week.
Yeah.
And good to see y'all again. And we will catch you guys next week.
Catch you guys next week. All
All
right.
right.